Great. Welcome everyone to the Littleton Licensing Authority meeting. I call this meeting of the Littleton Licensing Authority to order for October 14th, 2020. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Chair LaVere.
Present.
Authority Member Amen.
Present.
Authority Member Buchanan.
Here.
Authority Member Fullenwider. You're on mute, Tobin.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Authority Member Peters.
Present.
Authority Member Ravindran is absent tonight. We do have a quorum. And Chair, with your permission, I'll just go over how the meeting will run tonight.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Authority members, staff, citizens, and guests. I'm Colleen Norton, City Clerk, and I'll be serving as the moderator for this evening's virtual meeting of the Littleton Licensing Authority. We are streaming this meeting on Cable Channel 8, Facebook, and on our website, littletongov.org. The agenda will be handled by the chair in the same way it would be handled for a regular in-person meeting. As always, citizen participation is encouraged during public comment and public hearings. To participate via phone, please call 669-900-6833, and when prompted, enter the webinar ID 993-5839-9580. There will be two opportunities for public participation this evening, once during public comment and again during our public hearing. Microphones will be muted for all citizens calling in. Citizens can press *9 to raise their hand to be recognized. Once recognized as a speaker, speakers will have 3 minutes to address the authority. The city clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again when your time is up. We expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. For agenda items, the chair will ask for a motion and a second, followed by discussion and a vote. Votes on agenda items will be made using a thumbs up for a yes vote and a thumbs down for a no vote. The clerk will call each vote with all ayes and nays. I do want to point out for this evening, Authority Member Peters is our alternate. However, she will be in a voting position tonight. We also do have, we have to address the fact that our vice chair has resigned from the board, so we do need to fill that position. So at this time, I would entertain nominations for vice chair. We do have 5 regular members, including Authority Member Ravindran, who couldn't be with us tonight. Any regular member is eligible to be nominated as chair. Do I have any nominations? And it's okay to self-nominate.
Okay. Does anyone want to self-nominate?
Well, I would like to nominate Mike Buchanan to be vice chair.
I will second that nomination.
Okay, well, we're not doing motions yet, just nominations. Okay, are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to appoint Michael Buchanan as vice chair of the authority.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Oh, I got 2 seconds. I'll take Chair LaVere. At this time, I have a motion and a second to appoint Michael Buchanan as the vice chair. Michael, do you have any objection to that?
Thank you. No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and vote. Remember, a thumbs up is a yes, a thumbs down is a no. Please make sure I can see your hands. Go ahead and vote. The vote is 5 in favor. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Vice Chair Buchanan. Chair, I will turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Colleen. Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Um, We have meeting minutes to approve from March 11th. Are there any changes to the meetings from March 11th?
Actually, it's from June 10th.
From June
Chair,
10th?
I'm sorry, June 10th.
Okay,
That was
sorry.
a typo on, I apologize.
No worries. All right, the June 10th meeting minutes. Did anyone have any changes for those meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 10th.
I will second. And
Okay, are we ready to vote?
all vote.
The vote is 5 in favor. The motion carries unanimously.
All right. Next up is item 5 on our agenda, which is the public comment period. And Colleen, do you have a script here that you'll go through real quick?
I do have a script. I'll just get through it real quick, and I will note that we do not have any callers in the queue at this time, but we'll still go through this just as a formality. If you wish to address the licensing authority under public comment, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter the webinar ID 993-5839-9580. Then press *9 to be recognized. A reminder that citizen microphones will be automatically muted until that citizen is called upon to speak, and they will be identified by the last 3 digits of their phone numbers. When called on to speak, please state your name and address or district clearly for the record. Public comment is an opportunity to express opinions or ask questions regarding issues that are not part of public hearings on tonight's agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. The city clerk will notify you when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again when your time is up. The licensing authority is not authorized by the Colorado open meeting laws to discuss, comment, or take action at the meeting on any issue raised by public comment that is not part of tonight's agenda. We expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Chair, we do not have any callers in the queue at this time.
Sorry. If any do pop up in the next few minutes, please let me know. I know it can take some time to dial in and enter that webinar ID number and such. So if that happens, please let me know.
Will do.
We'll tentatively move on to item number 6, which is there is no general business for this meeting, but there is a public hearing, which is item number 7. At this time, we will have the Littleton Resolution 03-2020 approving the application for a medical marijuana center license for Colorado Medical Investments, LLC, doing business as The Dispensary, 5744 South Datura Street, Littleton, Colorado. And tonight, I believe we have representatives from the applicant available to speak and present their application.
We do, Chair. We have Charlie and Sarah from the dispensary, if they would unmute themselves and turn on their cameras.
Hi, Chair. Hi, Board. Thank you for your time, and thank you for reviewing our application. We currently operate 4 other dispensaries across the state of Colorado, Crested Butte and Gunnison, Colorado, as well as Breckenridge and Dillon, Colorado. We operate compliant stores. We're on time with our taxes and payments, and really pride ourselves on running top-notch operations. We're happy to field any questions or answer any questions you might have about our application for the transfer of the license from the hemp center to our entity. And Sarah, please feel free to add anything as well.
Okay, thank you.
And Charlie, how many licenses do you currently hold in Colorado?
So total, we have a license in Springs. We're currently moving. We're applying for another license in Colorado Springs as part of this overall deal. We have a Glenwood Springs license. We're working on a building remodel there. Those are the inactive licenses. And then active licenses, we have the 4 retail stores in the aforementioned locations, as well as a cultivation license in Breckenridge, Colorado, and a manufacturing license in Breckenridge, Colorado.
And to this date, you've been doing this for how long? When was your first?
We acquired our first dispensary about a year ago. So
Okay.
my prior experience was in the field of, ironically, substance abuse treatment programs.
And I've
And,
been in the industry for 5 years.
How many, have you had any compliance issues with any of your licenses?
We have not. We're very proud to say that we've undergone, I would say, approximately between 15 to 25 inspections in the last 12 months across our various locations. And that goes from underage ID to COVID social distancing measures. And we've passed all of them that we're, that we're aware of. We haven't been notified of not passing.
Okay. Just real quick, and anyone else can feel free to jump in, but I wanted to move to this diagram of your facility here. And, I see the main front door on the left side of this image that comes into the lobby. There's a reception, and I think you then take your customers into another room for point of sale activities.
That's correct.
Is there any barrier restrictions in that walking flow from the lobby to the next room, or is it just as open as it appears here? I mean, is there like a gate or a door that's opened to let them back there?
So the current ownership group that's currently licensed by the town of Littleton, or the city of Littleton, they do have like a theater style rope that they utilize, and they have what I would call a pinch point at a register where they do ID checking before they do let them into the bud tending room, if you will. The bud tending room as well also has a door. We're looking at modification. Once we acquire, we'd be looking at creating a true barrier with entry and exit doors from the lobby into the bud tending room. So that modification of premise is actually something we'd be doing shortly after acquisition to sort of create that physical barrier that you're alluding to.
And then from your bud tending area, it looks like there's a direct access door from the outside of the building to that bud tending area.
I believe currently there is. I don't know how they have it secured. The few times I've been through the facility and pre-purchase inspections, it's been secured and closed. I don't know if it's been barred off or what level of security they have currently, but that is something that we have looked at as well and identify as a potential security.
And this bud tending room would be the primary storage location for this.
It currently is in their current setup. We would actually be looking to reconfigure the space.
Okay.
And our reconfiguration would be behind that. We would pretty much create a solid wall across the lobby, an ingress door to the right of a reception style counter, and an egress door to the left, and create almost a racetrack theme through a bud tending room that's directly behind the wall that would separate the lobby and utilize that large unused space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that.
I had some questions about your employees and what kind of training do they go through? What's your process for bringing them into your organization, and how do you ensure, what's your, tolerance for any missteps?
Sarah, is that something you'd like to talk about in your position? Okay.
So, yeah, when we bring our employees in, we have a retail SOP that everybody is trained on and tested on before they are allowed to work alone in the store. We also have all of our employees go through a responsible vendor training program that is sanctioned by the state. There are multiple companies throughout the state that can certify in that, and we have all employees complete that program within 90 days of hire. Along with that, we do frequent compliance checks with all the individual employees are up to date on any new compliance or changes in regulation. And I myself go through the stores frequently to make sure that all of our policies and procedures are being upheld. So
when you policies and procedures, what happens when they're found to have violated that? What's your recourse? What is your standard response?
So I have a write-up program. So any employee that is violating procedure or compliance, depending on the severity of that infraction, will be either written up and put on a probationary period, and then their supervisor and myself will follow up after that time period to see if the behavior has been corrected and if they are allowed to continue working. Like I said, depending on the severity, it can be a one time and you're done, or there is a chance to prove themselves and show that they can act in the proper manner in our stores. With regulatory compliance that we deal with the Colorado MED, we have a very low tolerance for any policies not followed. It's, we take the safety and education of staff and customers very seriously, and we don't have room for that in our business.
The only other question I had, this is located in the Woodlawn, is that shopping center? So where parking will be inside in the parking lot there? Is that true? It's parking on the street.
If I might, Authority Member Fallenweider, it's
Sorry.
actually across the street from Woodlawn.
Okay. Oh, it is. Okay, I know where that is. So the question is, how to parking when somebody comes to your business, where do they park?
The current parking lot, I believe, has, I'm not sure exactly the number of spaces, but it seems to have more spaces than the competitor that's about a block away. And I think we have about 10 to 15 spaces.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I'd have to, it's not striped off. That's the only problem, is it was recently resurfaced and they did not restripe.
Okay. All right.
I would ask just to follow up on your what you were talking about with the kind of how you would deal with some sort of infraction by one of your employees. For training your employees, is that done internally, or do you rely on some sort of external organization for that kind of training? Is there a standardized training, or what for your staff? What does that look like?
It's a little bit of both. We have obviously an internal training program where we train people internally utilizing the directors of each location, but there's also, as Sarah mentioned, responsible vendor training, which is offered by third parties that are approved by the state of Colorado to render that training course. And that's everything from how to spot a fake ID to responsible bud tending practices and everything in between, regulatory compliance, a lot of the things that you would encounter on a daily basis that are involved in regulation and rules.
Is that required of all your staff, or how does that work?
I don't believe it's required by the state, but we make it a corporate requirement in our entity.
The state recommends it. We require it of all employees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have license? I'm looking at your list. It looks like you have licenses for both medical and retail establishments around the state. Is that accurate?
The Colorado Springs
Correct.
location is medical, correct?
Okay. And then roughly how many employees do you think you'd employ at this location?
At which location?
This one that we're talking about tonight.
I'm not certain if she doesn't have, the owner is involved in the daily operations currently. And I believe they have at least 2 other employees besides the owner. In our structure, I would venture to say we're looking to have quite a few more, probably between 6 and 10 employees.
Okay. And would they be employees that would only work at this location, or would they go around to your other?
They would work primarily at this location, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sarah, would you be the manager on site? It sounds to me like you might manage a number of stores.
I oversee all of the retail stores and the cultivation, and then I have a store director in each location who reports to me, and their staff then reports to them.
Okay. How many employees overall do you have working in all your establishments, Charles?
Company-wide, we're almost to 50. I was just running numbers for insurance today. We're right about at 38, 40.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you already have a manager established for this location, or is that somebody you're going to be hiring?
There's currently management that we're evaluating that's with the current operator. We're still evaluating that position. We will have a director on site though.
Authority Member Peters, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's not super eloquent, but I'm sure in this line of work you've had a lot of pushback on this sort of thing, and this particularly is like a real suburban area. My kids' elementary school is down the street, preschool's down the street. There's an early education at Littleton Bible Chapel. Like, how do you advocate for your business to like suburban moms who are like, I don't really want that kind of traffic in our area?
You know, honestly, Sarah, I'll let you take this one, but in our experience in the more suburban or rural areas, we haven't really had a lot of that, to be quite frank. In my prior experience when I was running drug treatment programs and trying to locate them in urban areas or suburban areas, I dealt with that tremendously. It was called NIMBY, not in my backyard. We dealt with that a lot. In this industry, to be quite honest, haven't. Maybe Sarah can talk to that better than I.
I think with our company, we definitely take a more professional approach towards the industry. I think a lot of the earlier companies, you know, it kind of played on that stoner image, you know, and just kind of the recreation of getting high. And what we focus on is offering a high quality product education, safety and compliance, and overall the image that we want to put into the community. You know, we're going to go in and, you know, look at redoing the store and having it be a clean, attractive structure, and making sure, you know, all products are compliantly leaving the store, and that all customers are educated, and that, you know, we're keeping eyes on the surrounding area and we're not allowing people to loiter. You know, we don't want to create, for lack of better words, a sketchy environment. You know, we want to really encourage people, if they're not a user, you know, that we understand that, but to have the education and to feel safe welcoming us into their community.
Yeah, I think some of that paradigm is shifting around from the stoner thing to like not sleeping or pain mediation.
Correct. Yep. And that's, you know, we, in our stores in Gunnison and Crested Butte, we definitely have an older population that comes in and they want, you know, help sleeping, help with their anxiety, and they've been on prescription drugs for, you know, an extended amount of time. And they're interested in just, you know, kind of weaning themselves off those and seeing what their other options are that maybe are a little more natural, or, you know, agree with their body, or could even benefit their body overall when you start looking at, you know, your CBD, your CBNs. So taking what, you know, an industry that had a very kind of hard or large stigma about it, and really starting to shift the public's perception of that. And that's something we want to do and really focus on too as we grow this company, and set ourselves apart from some of the other companies that you've seen before.
So I hope I'm not over speaking, but I think Littleton would probably not want to turn into like how portions of Broadway in Inglewood have, like, it's just stretches of dispensary after dispensary. So how do we let people know, like, this isn't a slippery slope? I mean, I'm sure there's a certain amount of licenses that are allowed. Maybe someone else can speak to that.
If I could real quick, Authority Member Peters, there are only 4 licenses allowed in the city currently.
Okay.
And our community development division has worked very hard on buffer zones for those to make sure that they're not within proximity to certain types of establishments. And to be clear, this license that the dispensary is applying for is actually going into an existing location. The owner is selling. And so under our code, the only way to do that, with liquor licenses, we can do an actual transfer of license. With medical marijuana centers, they have to be approved for a new license before they can take possession of an existing business, at which time the current owner will relinquish their license. So this isn't necessarily an additional location. It's one that already exists. for all intents and purposes, it's just a change in ownership. If that helps.
Colleen, how long has the current location been operating there? I recollect.
Melissa's
3 or
been
4
in that
years?
about 3 years.
3
They
years, okay.
transferred to that location. Prior to that, the hemp center was on Main Street in a non-conforming location. And then she changed her location to that area as a conforming location. So she does meet the criteria under the city's buffer map and zones.
And we haven't had any complaints. I don't recollect us having to deal with any issues with that location.
That's correct. That's correct.
Does marketing or anything like that change with ownership?
We do have a set of guidelines within the MED regulations as far as marketing and advertising go, that we have to prove that a certain percentage of the group that we are advertising to is over the age of 21. So what that does is immediately eliminates a lot of ads or print or digital media that would be marketed towards teens and children. And we do have to keep proof of that in our compliance binders. So it would change in the fact that, we're a different company, but you wouldn't see it marketed in different areas or forms that would be getting into, children.
Sarah, you said this, but I just want to ask, you're intending to make an investment into the building to improve it. This is perhaps part of what Andrea was getting at, making it look professional. This was something you mentioned in your comments. Is this particular building something you guys are investing in the external part of the building as well as internally?
We'd like to.
Yeah.
It's a bit run down. How do I say this? It looks a little sketchy. So I think we could go in and do a little exterior work and improve the appearance of the overall neighborhood too with that.
Are you purchasing the building, or are you taking a lease?
We're
will be
taking a
leasing.
long-term lease, and the landlord has agreed to let us do, internal and external improvements so far. I mean, obviously we have to present him with a plan and put that together. But once we secure the license and start the process, that's going to be one of the first things we do. And actually, when we submit, we're going to submit a modification of premise very soon after we find out, the outcome of this hearing, to basically affect the change with the state MED. Once the MED approves, we'll also do the local approval process as well.
And then all of your locations are referred to as the dispensary. That's the brand name?
We're currently in process of rebranding company-wide. You'll have different names. The names that we acquired in, for example, Summit County, the Breckenridge and Dillon locations are branded as Alpenglow currently. Crested Butte and Gunnison are branded as Soma currently. There is we're working on finishing a logo now. We literally got the final concepts earlier today, and launching a rebrand sometime shortly around the holiday period or soon after. And we're going to launch the Littleton one out of the gate with the new brand.
Can you take me through a little bit of your security processes, particularly related to cash management and safety of employees?
Certainly. We've worked with a company called Blue Line in the past, and basically we have drop safes at all of our locations that are bolted to the floor. Employees do drops at the end of the day into the drop safe. And if it's not at a location where we have a local, we bank with a bank out of the Gunnison area, an FDIC insured bank. We follow all of the rules and requirements and pay a hefty fee to be able to have that privilege. But we're fortunate enough to be able to have that privilege. But long story short, we do have a cash in transit service that takes the bank to a centralized facility. We take the security of our employees very serious. We have multiple pickups, typically with cash in transit services, to not keep large sums of money in the building. And we also do take cashless ATM cards at point of sale. So that does eliminate, we do probably 25% of our revenue is cashless ATM. It's basically a countertop debit card service, for lack of a better way to put it. But yeah, we try to mitigate, the cash aspect as much as possible. It's as big of a headache as anything for us, and we take the security of it very seriously. Knock on wood, we have not had any problems with that.
And then all of our dispensaries too are equipped with panic buttons that are directly linked to the local police department in case of an emergency. And then staff are trained with their SOPs that if in the event of a robbery, they are not to do anything to protect the money or product. You know, safety is our first concern with that.
With regard to, I know you said you have a panic button for linking to the police
Central
department.
monitoring, it'd be central monitoring that goes to the police. Yeah.
Okay, and that central monitoring is 24/7, and
It is.
during off hours, the building will be secured.
Correct.
Yep. The buildings, we have cameras running 24 hours as well. And then we maintain 40 days of footage on site per the MED, which I believe is 60 in Littleton.
Yeah, we do. Yes, it's 60 in Littleton.
Any other questions from authority members? Colleen, this is a public hearing, correct? So we're going to take public comment?
That is correct, Chair. You would need to formally open the public hearing
Okay.
At whatever time.
Sure. At this time, 7:01 p.m., we will take public comments. Is there anyone on the phone or in attendance that has public comment? With this one, Colleen, is there a script for me to read on this?
There's not. So again, Chair, we currently have no attendees in the queue from the public wishing to speak. I will just make an announcement in case anyone is listening and wants to call in, that if they did want to comment on this issue, they could call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter the webinar ID 993-5839-9580, and then press *9 to raise their hand and be recognized. If we want to just give it a few seconds to see if anyone calls in.
And then, to be clear, Colleen, with these medical marijuana applications, we are not considering the needs and desires of the neighborhood as we would with a liquor license, correct?
That is correct. State statute requires that we hold a public hearing. But I think for those that were on the authority back in, I believe it was late 2014, early 2015, when the Green Solutions initially went in, we did have quite a few in attendance speaking on that application, many of them in opposition, and none of that was used to make a final determination. The scope for determining is much narrower with a medical marijuana center, and that is outlined in your packet. And what it comes down to is that they have submitted an application that has all those pieces, including their security plan, their operating plan, all of those things, that the owners and applicants are eligible to be licensees. And that would be reflected in the results of the background checks through CBI fingerprinting, FBI, and then the Littleton Police Department as well. But you are correct. Anyone wishing to speak has the right to be heard, but whether they are in opposition or support would not necessarily be taken into consideration in a decision.
Thank you.
And at this time, we still have no one in the queue.
All right. Seeing that there is no public comment at this time, I will close the hearing at 7:04. And at this time, I will entertain a motion from the authority members. Let me get there. We'll go ahead and
I'll
take
make a motion.
Okay, you want to do it,
Sure.
Tobin?
Yeah. It's because it's long. I move to close the public hearing and approve a resolution of the Littleton Licensing Authority, which grants Medical Investments LLC, doing business as the dispensary, 5744 South Datura Street, Littleton, Colorado, a medical marijuana center license contingent upon relinquishment of the medical marijuana center license currently held by the Hemp Center, and receipt and approval of reports from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and approval by the Colorado Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division. The license approval is based upon the following findings of fact. 1, notice of the hearing was properly posted and published. 2, the application is complete and signed by the applicant. 3, the applicant has paid the application fee and other fees required. 4, the application does not contain a material falsehood or representation. 5, the application complies with all of the requirements of Title III, Chapter 20. 6, the applicant, any person with an ownership interest of 5% or greater, or any manager, have not previously been convicted of a felony violation. And 7, the proposed location of the medical marijuana center is permitted in that the building is not located within distance restrictions established by city code.
We have a motion. A second.
I'll second that.
Easy for you to say.
It was very short.
Is there any discussion among the authority members? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Will the clerk poll the authority, or are we doing thumbs up?
We're doing thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
The vote is 5 in favor. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
very much.
Thanks everyone for your time.
All right, let me get back to my agenda. Okay. And Colleen, I assume there's still no one on the phone waiting for a public comment section at this time.
There is not.
Okay. All right, well, this brings us to item number 8 on our agenda, which is reports from staff, authority members, and myself.
So I'm going to jump in real quick before Ashley does. I had planned on introducing you to the new deputy city clerk this evening. She's been with us about 6 weeks now, but I have her attending a week-long conference, and I've turned her brain to mush. So she will participate in our meeting next month. We will have a meeting in November. We have a application for a new restaurant license. So you will get to meet Pam then. Her name is Pam Middleton, and she eventually down the road may be taking over licensing authority. She will be taking over the administrative piece. But I have been told by our senior assistant city attorney that I need to hold on to the authority meetings for the interim. So you're stuck with me for a while. And so that's what I
don't think stuck. I think honored.
Well, thank you, Tobin. So that's what I have. And I'll turn it over to Ashley.
Thank you. And yes, again, I have told you, you have to keep it forever. I just wanted to let the authority know that since we met last, we have a new assistant city attorney, Tracy Schroeder, that I'm going to have introduce herself to you. We were able kind of to reconfigure that position that Dahlia previously had. She was a contract employee and was not working full-time. So we were able to bring the position in-house and make it a full-time position to cover some other things within our office. And so we were able to bring Tracy on. So as far as any cases in front of you guys that ultimately get presented going forward, it will be by Tracy now. So she's sitting in here behind me. I'm going to have her introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Schroeder. I'm thrilled to be a part of Littleton now, and I came from the Jeffco DA's office. Ashley stole me from them. That's how Ashley and I know each other. So I'm thrilled to be a part of the Littleton team. So it's nice to meet everyone.
And that's the only update I had.
Great, thank you. Colleen, so we have one new item for business next month, but no violations or compliance issues that we're seeing at this time.
Not at this time, no. Yeah, no, not at this time.
Any other updates from authority members?
I'm just curious. It's more of a question for the staff. Have any of the liquor license holders, how have they been responding to the situation with COVID-19, and obviously have there been effects from that on liquor license holders? Basically,
yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. There have. I think most of you are probably aware that the city initiated a weekends on Main Street over the summer to allow some additional outdoor seating for those businesses along the Main Street corridor. The state authority has been very active in providing temporary modifications of premises at a reduced rate and expedited processing for all liquor licensees across the state. And so not only our downtown businesses, but many of our other licensed premises in surrounding areas have taken advantage of that where they can. Most of our businesses are doing okay. Some of them are actually up from where they were last year, based on the expanded outdoor seating and expanded delivery service. So yeah, I mean, I think there are some of the smaller ones that are struggling a little bit, but we haven't seen anyone come forward and turn in their licenses yet. So, and the city is we're working as much as we can to kind of help in any way we can to get them that extra seating that they need outdoors. It'll be interesting to see what happens when it starts getting colder and that's no longer an option. But I believe that there's some information coming from the state that may give us some direction on that as well.
Elena, I noticed actually there's construction going on behind McKinners and the pho place.
They are adding a permanent patio behind both of them, and it will be separated. Yeah, they will each have permanent outdoor seating. They gave up a few parking spaces to accomplish that. McKinners also gave up, so at one point they had 2 storefronts combined, and they've since given up one of those and gone back to their original footprint. And are adding some permanent seating out back.
So when they do that, is that like they're increasing their square footage, or at Kinner's place, they decreased the license, just you guys do administratively changes?
Correct. Yeah. Modifications of premises, whether temporary or permanent in nature, per our code, are an administrative approval. Yeah, those aren't anything that you would ever see. We try to do as much stuff administratively. There are some jurisdictions that require absolutely everything, right down to renewals, to come to the authority. And we currently have 114 licenses in the city. So you would have multiples every month in front of you. And we're fortunate that we are able to process things administratively. You will get randomly some renewals if something weird comes up during the process. Chair Levere has seen this happen, but I'm sure, Tim, you could count them on one hand. Like yeah, maybe an extra finger. They don't happen often. So.
All right, any other questions for the staff or things to note? All right, hopefully everyone got their ballot in the mail and everyone will vote and participate. With that, I will close the meeting and adjourn us. It is 7:15. Thank you.
Good night.